Good day, folks, and welcome back to Ed's Garage at Bannister Hyundai. It's here, the IONIQ 9, the first one on our lot. We've actually got two on the lot, but this one came in first, and I'm really excited to go over this whole vehicle. So buckle up. This is going to be a long video because there is so much to talk about. This will probably be the longest Ed's Garage video to date. Now, before I get into this, please don't forget to like and subscribe, especially if this video helps you out. And if you have questions about the IONIQ 9 or anything else for that matter, by all means comment below. Check out the description for some great links to some great products and some great discounts using the Ed's Garage discount code. All right, let's get into it. So what we're going to do today is walk around the entire vehicle, look at every single feature of this IONIQ 9 calligraphy. This is the very top trim with every single feature available. Now we are in Canada, but keep in mind that this vehicle will be pretty much exactly the same in the United States, at least for the first year. I don't foresee any differences in features. One thing we have noticed is that for whatever reason in Canada, we don't get the dash cam system. That's a little annoying, but other than that, it has pretty much everything that I've seen online. The Koreans will get, of course, a much nicer version. They actually get things like buttons and stuff like that on the second row that this one doesn't have. But yeah, this is an amazing vehicle. We've all had a chance to kind of look at it, move it around a little bit. I haven't actually driven it more than just in the parking lot, so if I get a chance to drive it, then by all means I'll include that in the video, but I don't think I will be able to do that today. Having said that, ultimately, a vehicle like this, it's gonna ride well. It's got a 110 kilowatt hour battery, which acts like a massive ballast for going over bumps and stuff, so it's gonna be a smooth ride. But there's some other cool things about this that will really make it a smooth, quiet ride, and I'll touch on those as we go. All right, so starting on the front, look at those LED lights. That's not actually happening in real life. It's too bad because that looks kind of cool. So we've got the active shutters along the bottom here. So those will open up and close depending on whether or not it needs extra cooling. Now it is currently running, so that's why it's got those opened up, because the AC is blasting. It does, of course, have a heat pump. So not really AC, but it's the same idea. It is AC, but AC that can run backwards to heat the cabin and the battery, of course. This is kind of cool. It's got this sort of dark translucent cover over the front here, and you can see through this pretty easily with the camera. In person, it's a little harder to see, but right here you got the forward-facing radar system right underneath the forward-facing camera, and then there's kind of this pixel grid in behind it. We've also got some front parking sensors on here as well. Beautiful pixel lights all the way across the front. Even pixel headlights and high beams, check that out. Beautiful design there. Some more on the side here. Of course, being an IONIQ, you've got to have all those pixels, right? So pretty cool. Now up in the windshield, as you can see, we do have the forward-facing camera, and there's automatic wiper sensor there as well. So yeah, it's gonna have every single feature available, obviously. Coming around the side here, 21-inch turbine style aluminum alloy wheels. These are a 285/45/21, wrapped in Hankook Ion Evo AS SUV tires. So these are, of course, going to be a lined tire with low rolling resistance. A little further back, you can see we've got the side camera there, marker lights on the mirrors, of course, blind spot monitoring, and check this out. It has these little cool retractable handles. So let me show you how that works. So whenever the vehicle is locked, those handles will retract. And of course, when you're driving, they retract as well. You'll notice also that the mirrors are power folding as well. That's always nice to see. So if I unlock it, there we go, they all pop out. Now, as you approach the vehicle, it will unlock itself. You don't need to hit any buttons or anything. There is an automatic, there is a locking sensor button right here. So if you want to lock the door or unlock the door without waiting for it, you can do that from that little button as well. Further around the boat tail back end of the vehicle, as you can see, we've got those pixel lights wrapping all the way around the top, which is pretty cool. These all light up. Every single square here can light up at some point in time. So some of them will be on when your running lights are on, some of them are your brake lights. There's what the signal lights look like. So yeah, they all light up. It looks pretty cool. Right here you can see we've got the backup camera, which does actually include a little spray nozzle now. That's kind of nice. This one here is for your rear view mirror camera, and then your button to open up the tailgate is right there. Now it does, of course, have the automatic power tailgate as well, which I'll show you in a bit. And of course we got backup sensors here as well. Now, check this out. First in Canada, NACS port. That's right, this can use Tesla supercharging stations natively, but it does come with the CCS adapter. Now we've got a couple of buttons in here, so these two buttons, this will cancel scheduled charging and just start charging right away. And this one here is just to close the door. So that's all that is. So like the IONIQ 5, when you push this, you're actually pushing the button inside here. It's got a little transfer thing there that just pushes that button. So that's how that works. But let's have a look at the front again, because this does have a front trunk. But check this out, there's actually a new button on the key fob. Look at this, right here. So if I press that, or hold that, that will open up the front trunk. Now what's cool about this is you don't need to, there's no other little handle or anything. Now you can just lift it up. Pretty cool. All right, so front trunk is a reasonable size now, actually. Check that out. It's quite a bit bigger than the IONIQ 5 and 6 and Kona. It's kind of funny, it says maximum load, 45 pounds. Air filter is behind there, cabin air filter, and it does have the little safety release button there, because the way that this works is if you can fit a 3-year-old in there, it has to have a safety release mechanism. So all manufacturers have access to a dummy that represents a 3-year-old child, and if that dummy can fit in there, then it has to have a release button. So under or inside this, you can see we've got the NACS to CCS adapter, or rather I guess it's CCS to NACS adapter. So that's kind of nice that it comes with that. Tow hooks are there. No charging cable though, curiously. This is the first EV in Canada anyway from Hyundai that does not include a charging cable. Also under here, you notice they covered everything up. They haven't done that before with the IONIQ brand. So a couple things in here. Right here is access to the high side of the AC system or heat pump system. You got access to the coolant right here. That of course is for the battery and the electric motor. Windshield washer fluid, brake fluid goes right there. And then everything else is kind of nicely covered up. I do like that they kind of insulated the hood here, even though I don't see these really doing anything at all for sound deadening because, well, it's an electric vehicle. Now this is of course a dual motor electric vehicle. So there's a motor in the front between the wheels and a motor in the back between the wheels. Now the combination of those two motors, 422 horsepower, 516 foot-pounds of torque. Now that's up to that amount. So not every single IONIQ 9 gets that kind of power, but this one does. And what's cool about it is it's actually a completely 50-50 split. Both of the electric motors are 160 kilowatt motors, so 214 horsepower roughly motors. So that's kind of cool. Now, in case you're wondering about the color, this is the Nocturne Gray Metallic. So this is a color that's been used on other vehicles before. For instance, the IONIQ 6 has the Nocturne Gray Metallic as well. But let's start looking at the inside of the vehicle. So first we're going to check out the trunk area, because that's the biggest difference between this and other IONIQs. Now, obviously, this does have the smart tailgate system. So the second you stand behind it, 4 seconds later, the tailgate opens up, and it is high enough for me to stand under at 6'2". And of course, it does have the button to close and lock all the doors. Now, look at this. Look at how much space there is. This thing's enormous. What I really like about this is the distance between the back seat and the trunk lip. So let's go ahead and fold this seat back up. We'll just do this one here, actually. All right, so we've obviously got the cargo tray in here. This doesn't come standard with the cargo tray. But yeah, look at how much space there is from there to there. That's actually quite significant. Now, if you're in the third row, you can actually, sorry, let me just show you here. You can move the seat back. I'll show you that when I'm sitting there. That's pretty cool. And of course, it does have tethers. Obviously, just 2 seats back here because the back end is a little bit narrower because of the fact that this is that boat tail design. But yeah, lots of room right here. And there is a little bit of storage space underneath the floor. Let me show you what I mean. There we go. So you can see we've got some organization down here. And it does come with a privacy cover, which is kind of cool, and a cargo net. Now, this privacy cover obviously would mount into the squares behind the second row there. On the left here, you can see we've got a 12-volt outlet, a special button there, which I'll show you in a moment, and an 1800 watt, 115 volt power outlet. That's pretty cool. So you can use this for a heater, you could use it for a refrigerator, you name it. Anything you can plug into a wall outlet will work on that port. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and press all of these buttons here because I want all the seats to go down. So there we go. So they're all going down. As you can see, every single seat is power, which is awesome. So I'm gonna actually get into each one of those seats. But first I wanna show you what this looks like with all the seats down. And I'm gonna show you just how long this is. And to do that, I'm gonna get into it and we're gonna pretend we're camping. So let's do that. And the reason I'm gonna put my head on the back side will be evident shortly. Okay, so we're in bed. We've got our mattress set up in here and we're about to go to sleep, but we gotta close that door. Well, check this out. Oh, I gotta hold it. Look at this. How cool is that? Now you do need to hold the button until it's all the way down. There we go. That's for safety reasons, of course. So just like that, I've closed the tailgate and man, there's so much room in here. So I've got my feet up against the front seat. As you can see here, I still got a tiny bit of room. And wow, I have like a foot, if not more, above my head. This thing is long. It's a very, very long vehicle. But let's open up the tailgate again here. This time I can just let it go after it starts to move. Just like that. Super, super cool. All right, so now we're going to check out the amount of room in the third row, second row, and then finally the front row. And I'll talk about each individual feature as we're in the different seats. We're going to start with the third row though. I've gone ahead and I've set up the driver's seat where I can drive it comfortably. But let's first set up the second row in such a way that I'm still comfortable, but we give the third row as much space as possible. Now again, this is a power seat, which is nice. I can tilt the seat up, which is also really nice, because if you're taller, you're gonna wanna have a little bit of support underneath your the back of your knees here. So move this all the way forward, not all the way forward, I'll give myself a little bit of room. There we go, I think that's pretty good there. I'm quite comfortable like that. So without actually moving this seat, we're gonna go ahead and jump into the third row now. Now, because this is Captain's Chair's design, I can do that without moving the seat out of the way first. So I'm just gonna scooch through here. Okay. Let's see if this, I don't know if this works because I've never actually set this up. I don't think it's gonna work, but yeah, no. This seat would need to go forward a little bit further, which we can do. So we'll do that in a moment here. Actually, you know what? I'll do that now. Let me just do that now. Okay, I should have given myself the best possible chance, but let's do that now. Oh, where's the button? There it is. Okay, so now we're assuming. Okay, that's still very comfortable. Okay, so now we're assuming that there's an adult at 6'2" sitting in the third row. And we've given them every possible chance of success here because, of course, this is a smaller 3-row vehicle. It's long, but there's a lot of space behind that third row. Okay, so here we go. We can now recline this seat a bit, and now I'm actually sitting behind myself at 6'2". So the idea behind this third row obviously is just kind of jumper seats for children or in a pinch, but in that pinch, it's reasonably comfortable. The seat is actually very high off the ground, which is kind of nice. So the seat base comes up far enough that I don't have my legs kind of in my face. They're fairly straight. As far as the width goes, I mean, I'm not impeding on the other person's seat, so that's good. I do have a cup holder armrest. It is unfortunately solid plastic though. There's no cushion here, but this is kind of nice. I've got the ability to recline the seat, and I've also got a USB port here. Now the USB-C port is 100 watts, so it'll charge very, very quickly. And as a matter of fact, Hyundai actually includes a 100 watt capable USB-C charging cable in case you don't have one. They just give you one for free. That's kind of nice. That's a neat little gift. As far as headroom, obviously there's just boatloads back here, and I think that's probably the most surprising part of this third row because the boat tail design means that that roof tapers off quite a bit, and yet there's still a ton of headroom. I have access to a vent up here, which is nice as well, and this beautiful, what is this, suede headliner, which is kind of nice. And I have no idea what this is. It just says control. There's a bunch of them on the roof line. I guess that's just pins holding up their headliner. Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. I mean, it's not as much space as the Santa Fe or the Palisade in the third row, but the cargo floor is deeper, and that's definitely a benefit if you're wanting to use the third row and carry some stuff in the cargo area. Looks like we've got speakers back here as well. There's a subwoofer on that side. Okay, let's check out the second row and just see what sort of seat manipulation there is. Okay, so now we're in the second row, and we're gonna assume that there's nobody behind us because, yeah, now, you know, obviously I do have enough room to sit here comfortably, but if there's nobody behind me, I'm gonna give myself the most amount of room possible. So let's go ahead and move this seat back and just see how much space there is. And there's also a really cool feature here I'm going to show you. So I'm going to tilt the seat back. So check this out. Here's all the seat controls. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8 way adjustable second row seat. And look at this. So we're going to tilt it back. We're going to lean it back. And now I've got calf support. Check that out. Oh, that is so cool. This is probably, yeah, this is one of the most comfortable second row seats I've ever been in. I'm gonna close this door because, check this out, I've got a massive sunshade which covers up the entire window. It's going from all the way from the back all the way to the front. This is a much better design than what you'll find in a lot of, you know, other branded vehicles. Hyundai does a really good job with that. And check this out, we've got a nice long handle, so no matter how long or short your arms are, you're going to be able to reach the door handle. And you can see we've got some nice ambient lighting in there. Currently it's green. There's 64 available colors. A couple of cup holders in there as well. And pretty nice material, actually. This is a sort of a leatherish material. This is padded. And then down there, we've got a little storage cubby with a bottle holder and Bose audio in this one as well. So check that out. It's got the Bose emblem on there as well. And of course, we have adjustable armrests. So you can put that exactly where you want it. One thing we don't have in this one is the little wing folded headrests like we see in the Palisade. But that's okay. Doesn't have to have everything, right? Okay, we got solid seat backs on the front seats. Of course, there is seat back pockets and this wonderful console back here because you've got automatic climate control, ventilated seats for the second row, which is nice. Nothing in the third row though. No heated seats, no ventilated seats in the third row. That's unfortunate. That's probably just a Canada thing. But yeah, at least we have that in the second row here. Easy access to the center console storage. And also, like the Santa Fe, we get the little drawer here. You got to pull it from this side. I did notice the other day when I was moving this drawer, this is actually smoother. It's like they've improved on the design somewhat. And of course, a massive amount of storage in there, which we'll have a look at when we're in the front seat. And this entire console can slide forwards and backwards, which I'll show you later on as well. In the seats, you'll notice we have also 100-watt USB-C ports on both sides here as well for both of the rear occupants. And if you want, if you're in the passenger side second row seat, you can actually control the front seat from here. Look at that. So if it's bugging you, you can move it back from here. Pretty cool. Also, a first for an IONIQ product, a massive panoramic sunroof with power shade, and the front glass opens up. So that's a first for any of the IONIQs so far. Now I'm gonna just show you real quick, the little leg rest thing comes up quite high. So depending on how long your legs are, you can put it all the way up to there. Isn't that crazy? So that is now as far back as it goes. Look at that, a second row seat. Pretty awesome. So kids are gonna absolutely love this, especially considering the fact that it's heated and cooled. That's pretty cool. All right. Now, let's see what the two other buttons on the seat do. So there's one right here, and there's one right here. So this one, if you press that, will move the seat forwards and out of the way so that passengers can get into the third row. The other one should do exactly the same thing. I'm going to just quickly try that because what I've seen before is sometimes the one down there just moves the seat, not the seat back. But let's give it a shot. Now you'll notice just pressing that button, it just retracts everything. That's a nice surprise because in the Santa Fe, you still had to move the seat base. But yeah, let's go ahead and press that button now, see if it does the same thing. Yeah, it's the exact same thing, so pretty cool. Okay, before we get in the driver's seat, let's have a look at the passenger side. Okay, so finally the passenger is not left in the dust here. We've got 4-way lower back support and we've got the calf support here as well. So for our passenger seat, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-way adjustable power seat. That's awesome. Of course, it does have height adjustment and tilt adjustment. And yeah, that calf support. Let's see how far the calf support comes up on the passenger side. Look at that, that's pretty awesome. Okay, so now of course, if the seat's leaned all the way back, the passenger's really gonna be able to get comfortable, especially if you're at a charging station. Look at this. That is awesome. So if you're waiting for a charge, waiting for a ferry, waiting for a train, you can get real comfortable. Or if you're just driving, you know, it's a passenger, so they don't need to be looking out the window or anything. Passenger door, again, nice long handles, ambient lighting, storage pocket there with that translucent plastic, as is familiar on the IONIQ 5. Bottle holder, nice Bose speakers, of course. We've got the IONIQ 9 logoed mats in here. Now that does not come with the vehicle. You do have to purchase that aftermarket. Good sized glove box, very good sized glove box. Actually goes way back there. There's a little panel right here that you can put stuff as well. And then this, of course, is just your vent controls. I suppose you could put something. There's nothing actually here. It's just a slot. You've got that beautiful calligraphy logo there on this sort of, I don't know what you would call this. It is plastic, but it just looks neat. Now, one thing I forgot to mention was the range. So I already pointed out that it's got a 110 kilowatt hour battery, which is going to be great for vehicle to load, by the way. You can actually plug an adapter into the charge port and it gives you a 110 volt power outlet, just like the power outlet that's in the back. But the vehicle to load capability, that's going to go on for a real long time. And 110 kilowatts is a ton of power. You could run an entire house off of that for multiple days. But of course, it only puts out about 1800 watts. So really, you know, you can run several appliances, but not an entire house all at once. Now, as far as the range, this particular one will get just over 500 kilometers of range, stretching all the way to around 600 kilometers for the rear-wheel drive models. But this one here, yeah, just over 500. Every single IONIQ 9 gets over 500 kilometers of range. That's pretty cool. Now, the key fob itself, it still has the, we still have this ugly egg key fob, but there is you know, that additional button that I talked about earlier. It of course does have remote start and it has smart park. Now if you haven't seen smart park, I'll demonstrate real quick what that is. I'm gonna go ahead and hold on to this button here. And there it goes, all by itself. It moves forwards and backwards. Of course, it uses the front and rear sensors to prevent bumping into something. But this is a great system if you come back to your car and some yahoo's parked too close to you. I'm curious to see how far away I can be from it, actually. Let's give it some distance here. So I'm about 20 feet away now. I don't think it'll work from 20 feet, but we'll try it. No, it doesn't like that. Okay, let's get a little closer. Now we're about 12 feet away. Does not like 12 feet. Okay, let's get to within about 8 feet. Yeah, so about 8 feet roughly, and it'll work. All right, so after you've remote started and you get into the vehicle, you don't need to then start it again. Just put your foot on the brake and it will come to life. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get out of the sun here because there's a lot of glare in here right now from the sun if I were to try to videotape too much here. So just gonna get into some shade. While I'm doing this, I'll show you the backup camera. Very, very clear image, beautiful resolution on the screen as well as the cameras. It looks really, really good. And as you can see, we've got that top-down 360 camera system. But we'll go over that in detail in a bit. First, we're gonna go over all of the features on the vehicle here. in the shade now that you can actually see things and not have a whole bunch of glare from the sun. Okay, so we're gonna start on the left side and make our way to the middle and then talk about the screens. Right, so first off, on the door, we have the massage button. So this is kind of cool. We have pelvic, lumbar, and whole body massage. So basically what that's gonna do is it's gonna inflate some little airbags in the seat, basically the lower seat, the seat back, or the whole thing, and it's gonna kind of, inflate them on either side, alternate. It's pretty cool. Right below that, we have the memory seating here, so memory seating and mirrors, and steering wheel adjustment as well, because it actually has a power steering column. For the first time in like 10 years, we actually have a power steering column again. That's pretty awesome. So these will remember those positions. Now, of course, the user profiles will remember all of that as well. So each profile can have multiple seat and mirror positions. Below that, we have the lockout for the doors and the windows, child safety lock, all the window controls. Every single one of these window controls is auto up and down. Lock controls, of course, mirror controls, and the little button here to fold the mirrors in at any given time. So that's kind of cool. And then if we look at the seat itself, let me show you some cool adjustments here. So this one has something that the passenger side does not. So let's go over everything. So we've got the calf support here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then it's got this cool button right here, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So 16-way adjustable driver's seat. This is actually for the bolster, so that's going to move this in and out. It's going to tighten up the seating position, so pretty cool. And it'll do that automatically once you hit a higher speed as well if you have it set up to do so. But this button right here, this is kind of cool. This is the relaxation seating button. So basically what I can do here is I can press that. It says on my screen, rear seat is repositioning. Please wait a moment. So I've done that. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit that button again. Sorry, I got to move the camera in all sorts of weird ways to do this. Okay, so let's see if we can get this to do it. All right, there we go. So the steering wheel just moved up by itself, and now the seat's going into relaxation position. That's pretty cool. So now if I'm at a charging station, waiting, that 24 minutes for this to charge, there we go. So it's actually put the seat into that sort of nice relaxation position. And then if I press that button again, on the front side of that button, it just re-puts the seat and the steering wheel exactly where I had it before. Okay, looking at the first set of buttons on the left side of the dashboard, we've got open the charge door, which you can do by voice as well. We have open the front trunk, so we've got to press that button twice to do that, because of course it has that safety lockout. Open the tailgate. We got stability and traction control, the power e-brake, which of course is automatic, and then the dimmer switch, which of course changes the lighting level of all of the lights on the steering wheel, on the dashboard, and of course the screens. The column, as I mentioned before, is power adjustable. Of course, it's tilt and telescopic. On the left side of the steering wheel, we have the turn signal stock, and of course you can see we have that wonderful blind view monitor. Sorry, I had to think about the word there for a second. It does have automatic headlights and automatic high beams. On the top of the steering wheel, you can see we've got the eye tracking sensor. So this will actually keep an eye on your face and make sure that you're, looking at the road. On the right-hand side, we have the wipers, which of course are automatic, and you'll also notice that it shows you in the screen there what setting you're on. It does also have the rear wiper, which is also automatic, and the rear wiper comes down from the top so you can't see it. I forgot to point that out when we were at the back of the vehicle. We have the regeneration paddles, of which there are 5 levels, so you've got 1 pedal driving, and then if I pull the right paddle now, you can see we've got level 3, level 2, level 1, and level 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and I-pedal. 5 different levels of regenerative braking. On the steering wheel itself, you can see we've got these neat little pixels here. So the 4 pixels denote the letter H in Morse code, but if I change the drive mode, as you can see, it shows you a little sort of a animation here as to which drive mode you're in. So that's kind of neat. So we have My Drive, Eco, Normal, and Sport is going to be red, of course. It just does the little flip when you do it, but it doesn't stay that color, which I think was a bit of a miss on their part, but whatever. On the left side of the steering wheel, we have the adaptive cruise control buttons here. So this turns on cruise control and sets your initial speed. This increases or decreases and pauses and resumes. And then this one right here will be the distance that you're following behind the car in front of you. These 3 right here, these 2 we'll go over the little center screen, which I'll talk about in a moment. This one turns on the lane centering. So at any time, at any speed, you can have lane centering turned on regardless of whether or not you're on cruise control. Okay, so on the center screen here, the top button on that on the steering wheel, so this one here, will sort of jump across the screen. You can see there's 3 different menus, right? We're going to start at the left menu, and we're going to start at the very, very top, which is this one here, the current trip. So I'm using the scroll wheel now to scroll up and down here. And if I push the scroll wheel, I can reset certain things. So first off, we have our current trip computer, which is going to show us our kilometers traveled, time that we've had the car on for, and the average consumption. If I scroll down once, it's going to give us that same information, but since we charged the vehicle. So if I hold the scroll wheel down now, it'll reset. If I scroll down again, we have our since last reset, which of course I can reset as well. There we go. And then scroll down again, gives us our current range guide. Now, currently it says that the range is 461 kilometers expected, and you'll notice it has a max and a minimum. So depending on how we drive, it's going to adjust accordingly. But let's put it into eco mode and see what happens now. All right, so that went up to 489 kilometers expected, or 609 kilometers maximum. So depending on how you drive, that will adjust accordingly. Now, I sell Hyundais, and I love Hyundai products. I used to own an IONIQ 6. I currently own a Rivian. Now, one major thing that Hyundai does better than any other brand, as far as I'm concerned, is give you a good estimate of the range that you have. Now, obviously, on a brand new vehicle that's only driven 25 kilometers, it really doesn't know what sort of range you're going to get because it doesn't know how you drive yet. My Rivian, that's actually my loaner next to us here, but because it's in the shop again. My Rivian always says 505 kilometers. Every time it's filled up, it just says 505. It never adjusts based on how I've been driving. It does not adjust based on temperature. It does not adjust based on anything. It just always assumes that I'm going to get 505 kilometers on a full charge. And Hyundai doesn't do that. Hyundai looks at how you've been driving. It looks at the external temperature, the battery temperature, and it calculates a new range estimate based on those things, as well as a myriad of other variables. And it does a really, really good job. So when this vehicle says, yeah, you're going to get 488 kilometers, you can bet your bottom button that it's probably going to be 488 kilometers, or, give or take 10K. Now, with the vehicle being brand new, obviously that's going to be called into question a bit, but after you've been driving it for a while, it starts to figure that out. Where that falls apart, though, is if you drive in the city every single day, and that's all you ever do is just drive low speeds, and then you jump on the highway, well, now your range is going to be way out of whack, because it thinks, yeah, most of your driving's in the city, so we're going to calculate the range based on that. So you always have to remember, when you jump on the highway, your range is going to be reduced. The faster you go, the less distance you're going to travel. So the slower you go, the farther you go. Just remember that. Okay, let's continue on. So that's the buttons on the left side. Oh, sorry, we're not actually done the center screen here. So that was the range guide. Let's see what the next one is down the list here. We got our tire pressure monitor, and we have our power distribution. So that's which wheel is actually getting power at any given time. So it'll always start off in all-wheel drive. If you're in eco mode, it will taper off to rear-wheel drive very, very quickly. All right, so let's press that top button to bump over to the middle screen. So that's our current position, depending on that's the compass. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. So if we navigate somewhere, though, so let's say I put a navigation destination into the built-in system or into Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, now it will actually say on the screen.
The route guidance
there we go.
Now.
So now it'll show us our turn-by-turn directions.
Yale Road west, and then turn right.
Yes, yes. Now, not only will it show us our turn-by-turn directions there, it'll also do it in the head-up display, which you can see right there. So that's pretty cool. It's a very, very clear image on the head-up display. No, no ghosting effect at all, which is great. So not only can we see our turn-by-turn directions, but also, things like. Sorry, I'm gonna get my fingers out of there. We got our speed limit on the left there. The other weird stuff in the screen is just a reflection of that window behind us, or in front of us. Sorry. We have turn-by-turn directions, speed that we're going, lane keep assistance information, blind spot monitoring information, etc. So a lot of stuff will be showing up in there. Okay, let's jump over to the last screen. So this right now is kind of our, what's going on around the car. So if we see, if there's a car in front of us or car beside us or whatever, it'll show on that screen. And if there's a car in our blind spot, it'll show there as well. Okay, looking at the right-hand side of the steering wheel, all of this controls the screen, so the infotainment screen. So this is just for infotainment screen stuff. Now, the one minor exception is the fact that you can use the voice recognition to do things like open the tailgate, open the charge door, change the temperature of the climate control system, turn on your ventilated seats, your heated seats, turn on your heated steering wheel, etc., etc., etc. There's a lot of things you can do with the voice recognition button. So I suggest, if you want to know all the different things you can do with that button, check out my video on all the voice controls. I will put that in the description below, the link to the description, a link to that video in the description, so that you can see all the different controls that you can use with the voice recognition. Also, subsequently, I'm also going to put a link to the video that I've done for this infotainment system. This is called the CCNC system with the wireless CarPlay, wireless Android Auto capability, and so much more. The video that I did on this screen was in a Tucson, so I am going to show you the EV screen here in a moment, because the Tucson was just a plug-in hybrid, so it had a little bit of a different screen there, but otherwise everything else is identical. As for the screens, they are both 12-inch screens. They are both non-polarized, so you can see them easily with polarized sunglasses. But these buttons, essentially what they do, the mode button will switch between where music is coming from, which you can actually customize, so that's kind of nice. Next song, or next track, previous track. This is a customizable button as well, which we generally will set up to go to either the home screen or reject a phone call, because next to that is the answer phone call. A volume button right here is also a mute, and then of course our voice recognition. Now the last stock on the steering wheel is the shifter. This is where your start-stop button is, so that's how you turn the car on. And then to shift gears, basically you just roll this forwards or roll it backwards. Obviously you have to have your foot on the brake, and then you'll be putting it into driver neutral, reverse. To put it into park, you just press the end, but it'll also put it into park automatically if you shut the car off or take your seatbelt off and open up the driver's door. Okay, let's have a look at the center console. Very, very big center console. Look at this. So, first off, we have our little tray here. There's our USB cord, our free USB cord. I can take this tray out, and now it goes all the way down to there. Look at that. My elbow is at the top now. It's huge, but it doesn't just stop there. Look at this. Whoop. It goes all the way back to there as well, because when we pull out that drawer, let me just show you there. There we go. So there is the drawer. Pretty neat, eh? Now, this little block right here, it doesn't stop there. You can take this out and you can put it, let's see if I can find it. Well, it's roughly around there. You can use that as a divider. So you can kind of set that up and divide the two sort of compartments. There's a little LED light right there. And yeah, just an enormous amount of storage. And then we'll just put that tray back in there. There we go. And as I mentioned before, you can open this up from both directions. And I also want to point out, you can slide the center console back. Look at that. So now if you need to get into the passenger seat, for instance, you can just, go across here. There's lots of room to do that. That's pretty cool. As for buttons on the center console, okay, well, let's move this forward again. We have our auto hold button, which will stop the vehicle from moving when you take your foot off the brake if you're not already in iPedal. We have our camera button, which I'll talk about in a moment. And we have our parking sensor button, so that turns off the parking sensors, front and rear. And our hill descent assist, which works up to about 40 kilometers an hour, just stops you from rolling out any faster than that. And then we have our terrain and drive modes. So when I move this up and down, it's going to put the vehicle into its different drive modes, of which we have Eco, Normal, Sport, and My Drive, which is a customizable drive mode. So Eco, of course, you're going to get the best range. Normal is just going to be normal. Sport's going to give you all the power, and it's going to tighten up the steering wheel. And then My Drive is customizable. And then we have the terrain modes. To get to the terrain modes, we've got to push this first, and then move the rocker up and down. And that gives us snow, mud, and sand, and some new colors on the LED lights. Check this out. So here we go. So there's snow, which is white, mud, which is brown, and sand, which is a lighter brown. So that's pretty cool. It actually has the colors of the terrain. Hilarious. That's new. I haven't seen that before. So yeah, that's that. We have the wireless charging pad right here, which you'll notice is raised, which is good because if you have a big camera bump, it's going to be down there, and the bottom of the phone is going to be flat against that. It is, of course, also the NFC spot. So if you use digital key to start the car, you got to put your phone here, and then you can start the car. Okay. In front of the center console, we have storage down here, big storage compartment with a nice rubberized floor, and another storage compartment here, and this little spot for the key fob. If the key fob battery is dying, like if it's pretty much dead, this is where you would put the key fob in order to start the car. Above that, we have 3 USB-C ports. Now, this particular one will connect directly to the screen. It'll also charge, but it won't charge as powerful as these two. These are both 100-watt charging ports, which is pretty cool. And then we have our 12-volt, 180-watt port there. Directly above that, we have our wonderful climate control system. So we have automatic climate control, 3 levels of that, so you can reduce the aggressiveness of the automatic climate control. Heated and ventilated seats, of course. We can put it into driver-only mode, which shuts off the right side altogether. We have 2 levels of steering wheel heat. We have automatic recirculation if we use the windshield washer fluid, just like that. And if you drive through a tunnel, it'll also turn on the recirculation. That's so you don't have to smell the tunnel air or the windshield washer fluid. Pretty cool. I can also control the rear air from here as well, the rear climate, so that's pretty cool. And you can see rear climate does get an actual automatic climate control. It's not just fan speed. Right above that, we have all of the buttons and knobs for the stereo. Out of breath here, guys. There's so much to talk about. We have our volume knob. Home button, of course, will always take you back to the home screen, which, by the way, is customizable, so you can move things around here and just put things exactly where you want. Map will take you to the map screen, obviously. Search will take you to a global search where you can search for anything, not just navigation directions, but also stuff in the stereo, contacts, music, setup stuff, all sorts of cool stuff. The hazard button, obviously, sequence tracker, obvious. Another customizable button, I like to set that up for phone projection so that it's a quick way to get back into Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. The setup button here will take you to the vehicle setup, obviously, where there is a ton of stuff. Again, check out the video in the description below where I go over all of that. And then, of course, our tuning knob here to change through different radio stations. All right, having a quick abbreviated look at this screen, because again, the other video that I'm going to link is going to have everything, but let's have a look at the EV screen. So in here, first off, you're going to see an expected range and then how far away different charging stations might be. If I swipe over to the left, we can see our battery status here. Okay, so that gives us quick access to settings for the electric system. We have nearby stations. We can put the vehicle into utility mode here as well. So utility mode, it's pretty cool. That's if you have like a dog in the car or something like that. We have battery preconditioning. We can activate it here. We don't have to navigate to a station. It'll just allow us to activate right from here. Awesome. And our electricity use screen. So this screen will show you exactly how much power is going to different aspects of the vehicle at any given time. So right now we're not moving, so that's why it says 0 kilowatts for the drivetrain. It says half a kilowatt has gone to the electronics. So currently 44% of the power that's being consumed by the vehicle is going to electronics. About a half to 3/4 of a kilowatt are being used for the climate control, and nothing's being used for battery care. So this is pretty cool because this now shows us, the percentages is how much has been drawn so far for these different aspects. And we haven't driven anywhere, which is why these numbers are high. Normally these numbers are going to be very, very low because, as you can see, you know, they're both drawing very tiny amounts of electricity. The drivetrain, when you're driving, will go literally all the way up to whatever 160 times 2 is. If you're flooring it, both motors are 160 kilowatts. So that is 320 kilowatts of electricity being drawn all at once. Did I get that right? Yeah, 16 times 2 is 32. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So very, very little energy is being used for anything else. Let's get out of this screen here for a moment. Whoops, that's too far. So if I go into any of these, it brings up kind of a full screen version of what it is it's talking about. So that's kind of cool. But, oops, there are more things. So if I go to this, it takes us into there as well. If I go to this, it shows us our scheduled charging and scheduled climate. So you can set it up to automatically turn on the climate control at given times, assuming it's plugged in. We have our AC charging settings where that's where we can schedule the charging, of course. AC charging current, which you can limit how much current is being drawn by the AC charger. You can limit how far the battery charges, so what percentage the vehicle charges to when you're using DC or AC, right? And then our electricity consumption, our usage when we're using vehicle to load. So we can stop it at a certain amount of percentage and range. In case we're using vehicle to load, we don't want to draw so much that we kill the battery. So we can stop it all the way down to 20% or higher percentages. So that's pretty nice. If I go to settings here, it takes us to all of the electrical vehicle settings. So we got battery preconditioning, our utility mode is there as well. Smart regeneration, charging started alerts. So when you plug it in, it says charging started. And then plug and charge, which is where you can set up pre-authenticated payments. So if you're using a plug and charge compatible charging station, it'll just charge your credit card when you plug it in. You don't have to use an app or anything. So that's pretty cool. All right, so yeah, you got quick menus here. If you swipe down from the top, yeah, just check out the other video. I'm gonna leave it at that. All right, above that we have our rear view mirror, which has home link buttons there. These three buttons here are for the digital rear view mirror. Check that out. So now you can actually increase or decrease the brightness level of the screen, and you can also adjust the angle as well. Above that we have our little headliner console with map lights, all of course LED, our SOS button, call for roadside assistance button, all the interior lights, and then interior lights when the doors open. Let's see how far the sunroof opens up. Let's check that out real quick. Let's zoom out a bit here. So it opens up about that far. Okay, so about normal sized sunroof opening ability. But it does also have a 100% light blocking sunshade. So let's see what that looks like. And of course we can stop that at any point along the way simply by pressing that button again. But yeah, the nice thing about it is it blocks out all the lights. So if it's a really, really hot sunny day, you can close that off completely. All right, both of the sun visors, of course, do slide, and they both have lights and mirrors. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all the features, with the exception, of course, of that screen. But yeah, I think it's worth taking a ride. Oh, check this out. I didn't even notice this, but it does have the metal pedals. The dead pedal is currently covered up by the floor mat, but that's metal as well. And check it out, it's got the plus and minus buttons on it. So plus speed, minus speed. Well, I guess the only thing that's left is to take this for a drive, so let's do that. One thing I forgot to mention was all of the windows are actually double laminated glass, so this should be a very, very quiet vehicle. I'll see if I can show you that on the camera here, but if we get real close to the glass, you can see it's actually two panes of glass. There's this little split right down the center, and every single pane of glass, at least all the ones that you can open, are like that. I'm pretty sure the other panes of glass are as well. So this should be a very, very quiet vehicle. Another thing I want to do real quick before I take it for a drive is I am going to disable one of the driver assistance features, and that is the driver attention warning system. So I'm going to turn off inattentive driving warning and forward attention warning. So this is the eye tracking thing, and the inattentive driving warning is the reminder that you might be getting tired. I personally don't like those settings, and I'm glad to see that you can turn those off in this vehicle. In some Hyundais you can, and some Hyundais you can't. In my last Hyundai, my IONIQ 6, the ability to turn off the inattentive driving warning was not there. And I found that it was a little bit too aggressive at reminding me that I was tired, because I'd be driving for like 20 minutes in the morning after having just gone up, and I was perfectly awake and aware, and it would start reminding me that I was tired. So got a little annoying. So it's cool that you can actually turn that off in this vehicle. I will say, however, though, that once you understand where it gets that information from, it's pretty easy to prevent it from doing that. So it's not a huge deal, but so many people complain about it. It's nice to see that you can disable that. All right, let's go for a drive. So before I actually back out of this spot, I want to show you something real quick. So we've got the top-down camera, which is pretty cool. Backup camera, Nice, good resolution. Same sorts of features as pretty much every other Hyundai, including the full 360 camera system that gives you the 360 rendition of the vehicle, which is super awesome. I wish that they would actually allow you to change the color of that, though. That's unfortunate that they still don't do that. But anyway, let's back out of here and go for a drive. All right, so of course we have that wonderful blind view monitor coming up there when we put the turn signal on, which is awesome. We're going to go ahead and try the different drive modes, of course, and we'll also enable the lane centering system, see how well that works. And of course, this one does have highway drive assist. I think it's the highway drive assist 2.0, so it's going to have some capabilities on the freeway, especially when we're using the cruise control system. So first impressions, it is quite quiet, but when we get on the highway, that's where we're going to hear any road and wind noise. I'm loving this digital rear view mirror. That's pretty cool. We'll also try to find some place where we can do a quick 0 to 100 test. Oh, acceleration is really good. Very snappy. All right, let's see how it does this corner. Yeah, it's handling this corner with ease. And then complaining to get our hands back on the wheel, which of course we'll do. Now the steering wheel itself actually feels really, really nice. I think I mentioned earlier that it has the 2 levels of steering wheel heat. One thing I forgot to point out was it's not just the grips, it's the whole steering wheel that's heated. So some companies will just give you like the grips or the top half of the steering wheel or something like that. This is the entire steering wheel. One thing I'm noticing is the placement of the headrest is quite far forwards. That may be a problem for some folks. Personally, I think it's perfect because as soon as I go to lean my head back, it's on the headrest, which is quite nice. I know that in a lot of vehicles, my head really feels like it's really far back to hit the headrest. In this one, it's just right there. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that Hyundai is actually one of the few manufacturers that manufactures their own seats. So not only do they make their own steel, they make their own seats as well. So they're generally quite comfortable. All right, I'm able to use the blind view monitor here to get onto the highway. I'm going to do a quick pass. Very responsive, lots of power. We'll try the cruise control here. So highway drive assistance is now on. So if we have a look in the instrument cluster here, you can see everything that's going on with the I'm covering the camera now. That's hilarious. There we go. So now the camera can actually see my eyes and track. Zoom back out here. All right, let's see if it'll do a turn or a lane change. Okay, so I just put on the turn signal. The car's having a look at what it needs to do. There it goes. It just made a lane change by itself. And I do need to turn off the signal myself. Now, I could tap the signal stalk and it'll do the lane change and then turn the signal off by itself as well. So it does have that ability. Right on. So automatic lane changes all on its own. All right, so I think we've established that it is a very quiet ride, even at higher speeds. Not really any wind noise that I could notice at all. And road noise very, very capably muted thanks to the foam in the tires, as well as some obvious insulation, some sound deadening insulation. The next thing I want to try is to see how strong the regenerative braking is when you're in the one pedal drive. So I'm going to find a spot here to hit 100 kilometers an hour and see how long it takes to come to a complete stop and how much energy is actually being returned to the battery. So what sort of negative kilowatts we're going to see on the display here, because the display will tell us how many kilowatts we're using with the drivetrain, but also how many kilowatts are being returned from the drivetrain, and it'll just show that as a negative number. I believe though that the brake pedal will offer a bit more regen if you do need to press the brake. So I'm going to get it up to 100 kilometers an hour here, and we'll see how long it takes to stop. So I'm going to spin the camera around. We are now going 100. Let's have a look at the drivetrain here. Okay, so I'm going 102, and I'm letting off the accelerator now, and we'll see how long it takes to stop. And there's a dead stop there. Okay, so yeah, that's how long it took to stop. Not sure how many kilowatts it was pulling because I wasn't looking at the screen, but yeah, I'm sure you saw that where I didn't. So I'm going to pull over onto the side of the road here, let these folks go by, and then we'll try a quick 0 to 100 kilometers test. So keep in mind that was in eco mode with iPedal turned on. So yeah, the best possible chance for regenerative braking. So now we're going to try a 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. I've got nobody in front of me, and we'll see how much energy is being used by the drivetrain again. So starting 3, 2, 1, go. Bam, right there. That was 100 kilometers an hour. So great pickup from that 422 horsepower dual motor system. That was actually really quite nice. I'm going to do another test from 100 to 120. So let's get it back up to 100 here. Okay, there's 100, and flooring it. There's 120. Boom. Okay. Yeah, so acceleration is snappy even at highway speed. So if you do need to pass somebody, more than enough power to do so. I think anyone who purchases this vehicle is not purchasing it for acceleration capability, but it certainly does have it. And again, even on this more rough surface road, wind noise, road noise, very quiet. It is very, very quiet in here. All right, we're going to do a U-turn here, and we'll see just how tight the turning radius is. Oh yeah, no problem. Okay, so it's actually got a very, very tight turning radius. For such a long vehicle, I'm actually very pleasantly surprised. One thing with the IONIQ 5 and IONIQ 6, the turning circle is not great. So in this vehicle, I would say that it might actually be better. I'm going to look that up. I'll put that on the screen below so you can see the turning circle. I would imagine that it's about the same as those two vehicles, but considering this one is way longer, that's still really good. All right, we're going to see how the vehicle handles corners. And yeah, so far so good. As you can see, we are hanging on. That was about 80 kilometers an hour. Yeah, this is fantastic. The handling is great. It's very, very smooth. This is a really, really bumpy road. I've got a pretty sharp corner right here, so I really need to slow down, but we'll see how this does. Wow. Yeah, spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. Well, I gotta say, guys, I am very impressed with the drive characteristics of the IONIQ 9. It feels fantastic. It's handling these bumps like they're nothing. It's actually, I mean, it's doing a great job steering around these sharper corners as well, even though there's no line on the right side of the road right now. It is just doing a spectacular job. Let me show you what the head-up display is showing me here, because it's actually picking up the curves in the road as well, as you can see there. Now I'm going pretty slow because these corners are quite sharp, but the car is doing a great job picking that stuff up. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, whenever there's a shadow. Okay, there I had to help it out a little bit because that was a pretty sharp corner, but it's doing a great job picking up the road and helping me steer around these sharper corners. So yeah, I would have to say that the driving assistance on this vehicle is a little bit better than what I've grown to expect from other Hyundai products, even though they are quite good, especially on the highway. When it comes to roads like this, you know, they're not able to pick up the curves in the road very easily. And you know, this one has indeed currently lost the road as well, which is not surprising considering how many shadows and sunspots there are on the road. and the fact that there's no right side line. But it's doing a good job helping me out nonetheless. For instance, whenever I cross the line, it is picking that up and it's vibrating the steering wheel and giving me visual warnings as well. So yeah, quite good. Again, very, very bumpy road. It's handling these bumps absolutely beautifully. You can't hear it. There's no rattles in the vehicle, no weirdness in the suspension. It's picking it up and soaking it up really, really nicely. And look at this, we have a deer on the road. What a great time to, okay, this is hilarious timing. Look at that, a nice little deer on the road. That's so funny. Okay. Awesome. Now, I don't know if the car would have picked that up. I wasn't about to test it out. Listen to how quiet it is, though. I mean, it's a joy to drive, honestly. It's so quiet in here. One thing I gotta say is, man, the lateral support in these seats is awesome. The bolsters have inflated. There's great, great support on both sides of the seat. Not just the seat base, like more so in the seat back. It's really, really doing a great job at holding me while I'm going around these corners. And that is actually a surprise. I was not expecting that from this family hauler. This is really good. It's staying flat around the corners and hugging my body as we go around these corners. These seats are phenomenal. I think everyone who drives this is going to notice just how comfortable these seats are, because of course you can put them exactly the way you want them. There's so much manipulation. What did I count? 14-way adjustable power driver seat? That's phenomenal. I've decided to turn on the massage seat feature, and what it's doing right now is it's inflating airbags under my butt. Left, right, left, right. It's pretty cool. And it's also doing my lower back now as well. It's inflating the lumbar support. Oh, it's really, really coming out far, actually. We'll see if it does my upper back, but it did the seat base first. Now it's doing the lower back. Now I don't feel anything. Oh, now it's coming up in the upper back now, or mid back, I guess. That's pretty cool. Now, one really neat thing about it is that it'll actually do that after a certain amount of time. So if you've been driving for like an hour or something like that, it'll actually turn on the massage seat automatically. Assuming that's set up. You may have that disabled. It is disabled by default, so you have to turn that on. But cool feature nonetheless. Very, very comfortable. Another thing that I just noticed, which is really, really nice actually, the reminder to put your hands back on the steering wheel does not require you to move the steering wheel. As long as your hand is on the steering wheel, that's good enough. So that's pretty cool, because previous Hyundai vehicles, they would look for a jerky movement in the steering wheel to detect if your hands were indeed on the steering wheel. So this does have the capacitive touch ability, which is pretty awesome. I think that might be a first for Hyundai. Well, I think I'm going to leave it there, guys. I hope this video helped you out. If you are considering a IONIQ 9, just know that there are other trim levels available, of course. This is just the top trim level. In Canada, I believe we're getting 4 different versions of the vehicle. This one, of course, being the Mac Daddy with every single option available, every feature, all the power, all-wheel drive, of course. But yeah, lower trim levels coming soon. Again, if this video helped you out, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment below if you have any questions or comments. I'm going to enjoy the last bit of my drive to the back to the dealership here. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time, have a wonderful day. Take care.